Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another episode of Ask Dave. Today we're going to talk about antennas again and a couple little tweaks that we can do with dipoles in an inverted V configuration. This is from Joel Lamo, W8VAC. I have a question about my inverted V dipole installation. I'm using the reference station MFJ 2010. This is an off-center fed 40-meter dipole that also works on 20 and 10. I have it hung at the feed point on a metal mast 36 feet above ground level. The mast is secured to the gable end of my wood-framed house with asphalt shingles and is 12 foot tall relative to the peak of the location. The way you describe it, your ground is actual ground, not the roof of the house. My question is about the angle of the dipole legs in relation to the mast. I know that you have said that the overall dipole angle should be not less than 90 degrees. Now, what he's talking about, this is normal dipole, but when you do an inverted V, you bring the ends down closer to the ground like this with the center up. This actually gives a little bit more uniform directionality around the antenna. It's also very convenient because you only need one high pole. Also, try to keep this angle between the legs 90 degrees, which is the corner of a square, 90 degrees or greater, measuring the angle between the two. So this is 180 degrees, here's about 120, here's 90. Now when you go less than 90, things get a little suboptimal, okay? But 90 degrees at a minimum if you can. I know that you have said that the overall dipole angle should not be less than 90 degrees to mitigate coupling with the mast. Actually, it's the coupling with the two halves. Now, one thing to note, when you use a metal mast to hold up the center of the dipole, the mast becomes, to a certain extent, a part of the antenna. You can actually measure this by modeling it. If there's some way to keep the dipole away from the mast, like a little horizontal bar or something like that, ideally it'd be about 3 feet, but then that makes for some mechanical stability issues. If you bring it right up to the mast, well, it will work, but it will tune slightly differently. Okay, it'll tune across the band, okay. My installation has the dipole running north and south. The short side of the dipole, remember this is an off-center fed, north at 45 degrees to the mast. The long end runs south and is almost level, sloping slightly toward the ground at about 80 degrees to the mast. That should work fine. Getting back to my question, do both ends of the dipole have to be at the same angle to the mast? Absolutely not. Put it in where you can fit it. Does this affect my radiation pattern? Yes, to a small degree. I did a video on this a year, maybe 2 years ago, where I modeled these things being at different angles to each other and found if you had a dipole that was kind of crooked like that, looking from the top, you're not going to get your standard pattern, but you're going to squeeze the pattern on one side and make it bigger on the other, but almost by not enough to worry about, okay? Does this affect my radiation pattern? Again, yes, slightly. And he says, thank you, Dave, in 73. The bottom line here is that a dipole does not have to be straight its whole length. You can droop the ends. You can actually kind of bring it in on itself like this. So it's a sort of a zigzag across the yard. You've got lots of possibilities to make the dipole fit the room. I would recommend a 40-meter dipole. The reason that I recommend the MFJ 2010 is because it works well on 20 meters also. Now, that antenna is disappearing as MFJ slowly fades before our eyes. I would recommend instead that you get the ARRL end-fed half-wave 40 through 10 meter dipole, which is available for less than $100. You'll have a little bit of drilling to do, but Either you have the bits or a friend might have the one bit that's a little bit bigger than a 1/2 inch. All the other holes are easily drillable. You'll find that this kit actually comes from an external supplier that the league has picked up, and will also work for an 80-meter length of wire and give you a little bit on 80. Usually, I think most people tune for the bottom of 80, so they'll get FT8 on 80, which is nice. So there you have it. If you'd like to support this channel, go to dcasler.com/support and pick a way that works for you. One of the things you can do that's new is to become a member of the channel right on YouTube. So there you go. Until we next meet, 73.